is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are here in another Discord meeting. Today is a little different. We're doing the support and resistance sector. So if you guys want to pay attention to this, we're going to go over support and resistance, how important it is, and we got three key ways I look at support and resistance. We have our psychological support, those round numbers. We have the technical support, and we have the VWAP support and resistance levels. So we're going to go through all those today. Right now we are in the Discord. We got all of our regulars in here. If you guys want to join the Discord, hit the description down below. You'll see my link tree there. You can see me on all platforms: Facebook, Discord, Instagram, everything but Snapchat, which I probably could add the Snapchat. And also, we will be showing all of this on our very, very important and beautiful, right here, boom, bada bing, bada boom. It is your trading view. And if you guys want to be a part of this, that's also in the link tree too. You get $15 off if you decide to join and buy the essential plan. You don't have to buy it though. It's absolutely free. But if you want to upgrade, we get a little kickback from that. Okay, let's jump right into it. Good afternoon, B. Stewie, Dan Bob, the greatest moderator alive, Jimmy, Jolene, Covey, and Nalani. I'm sure a couple more will be joining us very, very soon, but it is good to have all of you. If you guys have any questions at any time whatsoever, please interrupt me. You already know the drill. So the very first thing I want to do is look at the S&P 500 and just give you my quick take on that, and we will show you what I mean by the support and resistance while we talk about this. So the S&P 500 right now is lingering like some bad breath right on this 21-day moving average. It's right on there. I'm still Dan Bob?
Share screen.
Oh wow, I don't even have my screen shared? Goodness gracious. There we go. All right, right here, the S&P 500, we have it up, ready to rock now. And then if you look here, we closed at 553.78. I believe we are sitting right above 552 right now. Let me check the other chart here. Let me take a look at the SPY. And it looks like, yes, we are sitting at 552.10, which is just over that, actually just on my 21 exponential moving average. So we're sitting right on top of that beautiful, beautiful line there. Now, I did call in my financial advisor. I said, I am risk on, go ahead and get me in. I got a little bit more exposure to the IWM, but I want to use this as our area of support. Now, that being said, guys, we're going to go over support and resistance because, as you know, I use these moving averages as support because when we break down these moving averages, we have a bigger chance to head down further and faster like you've seen here. We could zoom all the way back here, as you guys seen here, breaking the 21-day, breaking above it. But when we break down it, we have plenty of room to fall and fail and continue to head down further. So that's just the way I play it. Now, let me talk about the most psychological area that we had played off the last time. This is your psychological resistance. Now, what do I mean by psychological? Well, we have three different types of resistance, support and resistance. The first one that everybody knows about are technical resistance areas where you'll have these tops like a double or a triple top, where if we just draw a line right here, right through this, you can see that more than one time this area has bonked its head. 1, 2, 3 times. That's an issue. It cannot get past this 523.84, right? And so it breaks down. So that is a technical area of resistance, and we're going to go over that a little bit more in a second because there's also technical areas of support. And then I want to show you here, though, the psychological area that I've talked about most often is this $500, this round $500 number here. And you can see if we just draw a longer line on this, maybe I can stretch this out so we can see it. I'll put it right on 500. And you can see there's been numerous times this $500 area has acted as support. 1, 2 times. Once we broke through it and we pulled back up, we came back down, acted some support around that $500 area again, and then again. And then when we came back down one last time, I said, if this shows these new higher lows and we hold this psychological and technical area of $500, then this thing should continue higher. And we did. So why was I saying a technical and a psychological area? Well, it's very, very simply put here. $500 is a psychological area, and it was bouncing around that area, but it also held true multiple times, 1, 2, and 3. So we know that psychological area is being held. Also this 4th time after it came back down here. So that is a technical area because it's showing in the technical analysis that this area is shown support, right? It's also a psychological area because it's this round number of 500. And we like, as human beings, round numbers. I bet anytime that you have bought, sold, or did anything with your shares, you know for a fact you bought 10 shares. You didn't buy 11 shares. Or you bought 50 shares. You didn't buy 53 shares, right? Well, same goes as where you're buying. You bought at an area, well, I'll buy at the $50 area, or I'll buy at $2. Or better yet, a lot of times if we are selling at psychological areas. And I do that too. If it breaks the area of 500, I want to be out of this stock. And those hold true with even institutional owners. Okay, they'll defend a psychological area as well, and we'll show a few more examples here. So this is the most recent psychological area on the S&P 500. We have plenty other psychological areas that we can take note of too. Now, right now, I want to focus on the resistance, the technical resistance though, guys. There's plenty of technical resistance, and one of those being, obviously, everybody is aware of tops. Like, let's just show you a beautiful, beautiful trade here, SHIP. Okay, we bring up SHIP quite often, and we can draw a line right here. We knew that this was a base breakout, and if we just draw a line right here, oops, wrong one. We just draw a line right here at this top, you can see at not only the technical area, but this is also a level of psychological resistance. So this is a base breakout that we use as a great example. And this right here is showing a base breakout around $7.50. This is a technical area as well because it's shown true. Here's our first area that it hit up against, and then it came back down. It hit again. It hit again, it hit again, and it hit again, right? And more than that, it hit more times over here, okay? I know I sound like I'm getting repetitive, but when you're looking for technical areas, you want to see multiple areas of resistance or support. Currently, because we're below this is going to be an area of resistance because it is resisting this price area. This also happens to be a psychological area as well because it is a round number of $7.50. Now, yes, we could argue this and say, well, this time it came up above $7.50 by 4 cents, and this time it came below $7.50 by 10 cents or 12 cents. But we use these round numbers also to explain things too. So we're saying it is a psychological area because $7.50 is pretty damn close. It hit more than one time. And it's a technical area because you can see it in the technical analysis that it hit this area and bounced back multiple times. Okay, so then this thing broke out higher and pulled back. You know, it had earnings. It did all kinds of stuff after that. This is actually, I believe, the true area that we show. This was one area that you could have played and made a nice tasty little trade here, made a couple of R and got half out before you stopped on the other half. I think this is the one that we actually show for our base breakout here right before earnings, if I remember correct. And you can see this one here. This isn't so much a psychological area as this is just a technical area because this doesn't hit an exact number, okay? This is 968-ish, give or take, but this is a technical area where it's hit its head 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, guys, and it got tight, okay? So this is a resistance area, also a base breakout, okay? So let's go ahead and look at Tesla here. I want to show you guys a area of technical resistance that we use as trend lines. Now, this is the widely known Tesla, right? Tesla is widely known, and this is a certain key area that we have broken out of. Multiple different areas on this I want to talk about. This is on the daily. So this is a trend line resistance, and a lot of people don't believe in these, which I think is just hilarious because I've made a ton of money off of technical breaks or trend breaks, is if you will, but you will find that when we start to form trend lines like this, they hold technical resistance. People are looking at charts like this more now than ever before. And you'll find when we start to create this trend, and after a very short amount of time, so from November of 21 to April of 22, we hit these, of January of 22. So within 4 months time, we formed two highs here. And if you would have just not looked at any of this chart whatsoever, and we only zoomed in on this portion right here and drew a line from there and just drew that line all the way down, you could use that area to short off of multiple times. Okay, until it breaks above that area, we're not really looking at it. And those were the only two areas you really needed to conform off of. Now, before those two areas, you could have also used this here, and you could have came off this top and just used this area and pulled this down. And look what happened here, guys. Not only do we have an area that we can go off of, but it also used that technical area again and again. And then when it broke up through, now it's defeating this purpose. So now we're waiting for a new trend to form. Well, now look, it created this one. So you could have played off of this right here. You could have played off of this right here. Now, after it breaks through, this is a bullish sign. Well, it's breaking out. Now it's time to get in, right? In this case, it didn't last very long and it came back down. But that's why we have buy and sell rules. And that's why we wouldn't have taken this anyway, because, well, that's for a whole nother video, right? So that is a good reason why we want to look at technical areas on trend breaks as well. Now, we could go through many more, but we went through the psychological and the technical. There's a few things that I want to bring up for VWAP, and I want to show you my most recent VWAP call out, and that was on GME. All right, and GME was a beautiful trade on this, and I'll show you guys exactly why. Let's go ahead and bring up, I don't have my VWAP set up on this one, so let me bring up my GME trade on this. And if you put this on the hourly, let me blow this up. This is the VWAP resistance. Now, why am I bringing up VWAP as support or resistance? Well, because VWAP means the volume weighted average price. And if you look at something like this, where the price goes up very fast and comes down very fast, you need to understand where the majority of the people are. And that's why we used volume weighted average price, because it's taking the volume and then it's giving you the average price of where those people are at. So if we just look at this area here, and we just look at the two biggest traded days or the three biggest traded days on GME, and we just look at this area, what we can do is we can use these areas as support and resistance. So look at this here, this purple line here, if you guys can see it, this purple line right here, this is your VWAP. And if we just draw a technical area here, we'll say this area, and then we'll look at another highly volatile line, and we'll take the VWAP area off these two, and we'll run it off this area, which is a psychological area as well, which is 60, and mark off this area too. Okay, so these are our technical areas. All right. And we could just use it. We'll just say this is one line. We'll just call it 60, okay? But I'm just going to mark these out so you guys can see this was the biggest, most volatile day. Now, instead of taking the high, which is 80, which you could, and, the lows on those same day, which you could, what we want to know is where the most volume was traded so we know where that area of resistance and or support is going to be. So now if we slide on over and we see what has happened here, we can actually follow this trade, okay? You can see here, we start with a big gap up here, and it pulls back down, and it's showing that first area, that highly traded area that we shown before as support. Now it breaks down below it, and when it breaks back above it, look what happens here, guys. It breaks up above it. Now it's showing there's no more resistance. Okay, it showed support, it broke down, now it's going to act as resistance. You can see there's not much resistance, and it also held this as well. Now it broke out above it. And now when it comes down to retest it, it's showing that same area as support. And look what happens. When it shows that this area is support, it starts to get volume again and takes off. Well, what happens when this thing takes off? Look where our next areas that I drew out for you earlier. These are the volume weighted average price areas. So if we look into these areas, you're going to see in the pre-market, it ran right up into this area. And look what happens. Boom, it starts to get sold off into. Gets sold off into, and it gets sold off hard. Why? Because there is a bunch of people sitting in there from the previous time it got to this area. So imagine if you are a stupid buyer. You are dumb money right now, okay? This thing starts to ramp up. Well, you want to be a part of GME. You know what happened last time. You know that roaring kitten or whatever. What do you call him? She's not in here right now. Oh yeah, she is. Jolene. What do you call him?
Hello Kitty.
Yeah, Hello Kitty. So you're watching this thing and you're like, my man Hello Kitty is in this thing, you know? And this thing just rip tater chips to the north side, and you were like, I have to get into this thing. And you get in. And let's say you get in around 60, where everybody else on the average price got in, right? And it keeps going up higher and higher and higher, and then it just tanks right on off. And you're like, well, it's going to come back up. It'll come back up. It'll come back up. And here you are stuck in this trade. And it comes back up, but you don't get out. Or maybe you do get out, but a lot of other people get back in. And it comes back down. As you can see, the volume weighted average price shows where the majority of these people are, okay? So it comes back up into this area, and sure enough, look, we hit that big area of dumb money, and it gets sold right off into. This isn't just an area where the dumb money bag holders are gonna sell off into. This is also an area where people like myself who are looking where the dumb money is going to want to sell off into is actually taking short sale trades, okay? That's exactly what happened here. We're looking for the backside, and see this big wick on the hourly? It looks even worse on the 1 and 5 minute time frames, okay? That's how we know there's backside in play. And then when it breaks below this area, you see this free fall candle? Now this is on the hourly, so it looks a little bit more exaggerated. I can promise you on the 1 and 5 minute, it looks pretty bad too. But on the hourly, you can see it goes straight down. Why does it go from 61, or this $60 area, as we pointed out, sit between 60 and 61 is the highest area? Well, because it's euphoric here. Everybody's happy here. Well, look where the average weighted volume is. That same damn price. And then when it starts to lose its momentum, why does it sell so far, so fast? Is because of all those resistance from those bag holders are selling off into it. They're afraid it's never going to come back up here again, and sure as shit, it did not. So it was good for them to get out. It was even better if you could take a short sale trade, because you are going to double your money in just a day, okay? Now, I'm not recommending shorting or anything like that. I just want to give you a good example of that support and that resistance, okay? Now, if you guys look, let's look what happens. If it breaks all the way back down here, it finds support back down here, a small bounce and retracement, and it breaks on through, right? It comes back up to that area again, and look, it sells off again. Back up into this. Now, if you guys don't remember, I marked this area out because it was a highly traded area of volume right here, okay? So now we're talking it came back up, it cleared all of this volume. Now we're back down and we're back into this area. That's what this red mark is. So we come back over here, and now we can see the psychology behind this. Now we're back below this area. It comes back up, and it's not acting as support, it's acting as resistance. Sell off, sell off, back up into this area again, sell off, sell off. It gets tight and it sells off again. Okay, now look where GME is at. Okay, it just kept falling lower and lower and lower. All right, so that's the support and the resistance. Oh, and look, one last time. It's got one last hoorah right here. Same area I marked off here, people. Same damn area. And look, one last hoorah. This is what I call a dead cat bounce. Now, can GME come back? Sure it can come back. But I doubt it, because I doubt Hello Kitty is going to want to try and pump this thing again. He's already got his, hands chewed from this. As far as I know, I don't really know. Who cares? But this is one last hoorah right back up into that area. You could have taken a short, and it comes right back down. So it's always good to zoom out. It's always good to look left. It's always good to mark out those volume weighted average prices, because they can act as support or they can act as resistance. In this case, we looked at them as resistance. So let's say, okay, and we actually called this out. We played this. I actually played this live, you guys. I played this live, and I got the majority of my sales out right here. I do believe I'd have to go back and look, but I did call this. I said that this trade, if we start to ramp up, we start to take off, that we're probably going to see, I think I said 50, the psychological area of 50, just because I expected it to get somewhere into this area due to back here. Now, I said if we break through 50, we're going to get somewhere into the 60s, and that's exactly what we did. But I rather to get out early than be a part of dumb money. I'd rather be selling into dumb money. That's why my expectations were 50, and we made good money. We made good money on GME. I sold a little earlier than that because I didn't want to hold overnight, you know. And to be honest, let's say I didn't wake up early. I do wake up early, but if I didn't wake up early, it would have came all the way down past where I exited out of before the market opened, only giving you one opportunity to get out at that same price. So it's that's why I don't like to hold these speculative stocks overnight, because you will get crazy moves like this. This is when they like to pull the rug. Okay. Let's see here. Some other support and resistance that we can take a look at. Well, let's take we can take a look at the bigger indices actually. And if you guys have any questions, let me know in the chat. We could even run through, you know, some of these like PLTR and stuff like that. Like you can open up any chart. We could open up any chart. We can say, you know, and you guys know what I like to look for. I like to see a big push up, a big pullback that supports, shows resistance, and then heads on higher, right? But at any chart, you can find the support and resistance. Any chart, anywhere. And you can see right here is where I drew this line out, right? This is resistance right here, right? And when we break through resistance, it acts as support. This one broke through. This is what we call a fake breakout, right? This is a fake breakout here. But once we finally get through this, creating new higher lows, and we finally get through this, look at this. We get through that area, and then we come back down, and now it's showing that area as support. I was even talking to you guys. I have a green line right here as a great area to get in as we broke out higher. A little extended though, a little extended here, but a great area nonetheless to get in as we did pull back and retested that same area and then had continuation higher. This is not my type of trade. On the hourly, it looked phenomenal, but I like seeing my trades on the daily, okay? And as you can see, PLTR is heading higher. It's getting a little wide and choppy up here. I don't know what's gonna happen with PLTR. But if we zoom all the way out, look, we can even see there is some resistance all the way back here. This is more psychological resistance, as I don't think there's a lot of people in this trade still from all the way back here. But if we mark this out, you can see we have an area 1, 2, 3, all the way back here from 21 and 2020, okay? So 2020, 2021 have this huge sell-off. We're back up here right in those areas, and look what happened. We get above that and it sells off. We get above it, it sells off. What happens if we continue to try to break above this and it doesn't sell off? This area of resistance is going to be an area of support if we break through, okay? If we can't break through it and we continue to trade sideways, this is going to be a dump here, okay? So we'll see what happens with PLTR. So far, from what I am seeing, we're seeing a lot of selling going on in this 2950 area, okay? Once it gets up to that 2950 area, it keeps getting sold off. Back up, sold off. Back up, not as high, sold off. This might be a huge short sale opportunity, but again, I don't truly know. We'll have to wait and see because hindsight is 2020. We could click on almost anything and find support and find resistance. It's how and when are you going to use that area of support and resistance? Those support and resistance are backed up by volume, and that volume turns into psychology. Every chart is somebody built buying and selling. If you are selling a stock that you're in, you're selling it to somebody. If you're buying a stock, you are buying it from somebody. Whether it is a program that a human made, whether it is a financial institution that is selling a trade to you, or a stock to you, or a derivative to you, Or if you're buying, you might be buying from an institution who thinks that they are they bought all this up. They bought all the support up down here, right? Here's your support. You can see it right here. Boom, multiple times this thing has been supported, right? It has resistance here. It breaks out, pulls back, retests this area. It supports 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have an undercut right here and a humongous rally. Now, there might be an institutional owner in this after this thing rallied up and it sees, and they're selling. Now they're selling off into it. Now that they're selling a lot of these shares off into it, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they start to support it here on the 10-day. Maybe they sell off some more. Maybe this pops back up and they start selling off more because they want the best price too. I have no idea what's going to happen here, but I'll tell you this. Support and resistance is a huge, huge deal. So now we've went through psychological support and resistance, technical support and resistance, the highs, the lows, and the trend lines as support and resistance. We've also went over a VWAP resistance, okay? We also could go into anchored VWAP, but we're not going to dive deep into that. I feel like that's going to be a whole nother section in itself. But just keep in mind, guys, this is always happening, especially in the S&P 500. You'll hear people talking about this 550 area. And look at this. As I hover over 550, because 500, right? 550, 600, those are going to be huge psychological levels. And I just hovered over 550. I just was going to use this as an example. And look, if we hover over 550 and I just draw my line at 550, look what happens. Boom, right here. We had this huge run up, this huge extension from the 10-day moving average. Boom, we hit 550 and look what happens. We sell off. We come back up to hit 550. We sell off. We come up, we break through 550, and look what happens. This thing rip tater chips to the north side, okay? That is a great psychological area of resistance. If that wasn't there, I don't know what would happen. It would probably make it to the next area of psychological resistance or technical resistance. Now, that's why a lot of people, including myself, when we broke through not only the 21-day moving average, but we broke through that psychological area of 550, that made me a bit nervous. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm still, even though we're above a 21-day, and I've called my financial advisor and I'm still risk on, if we break below not only previous day's close, which, you know, if we take a look, let's see where we're at today. We're sitting at 552.15. So let's just take a look. And previous day's lows, 551.15. Okay. So keep that in mind. We're only a buck away. We're below this 21-day moving exponential average right now. It makes me a little nervous because what's just below it? 550. If we break below 550, that's going to make me really nervous. Okay. I think we could have more continuation on the sell-off. Do I know what's going to happen? No. But when you see a big gap down like this, even bigger sell-off and then continuation, right? That there's higher volume on that sell-off, even higher volume or the same amount of high volume the next day, and then continuation volume right there. Bounce back up on less volume, and now we are just kind of stagnant. Okay, we have a lot of earnings coming up here. We could definitely head on lower. So are we going to show support here at 550 if we come back down? Are we going to be able to hold this area? That would be nice. I would like to see that personally. Or are we going to get bigger sell-off like we've seen on this day right here? As we broke through the 21-day moving average, right, on higher volume right here, we had continuation 2 days later on the next volume, a pop-up on less volume here. Look at this here. I'll just, right here, this almost looks like the exact same thing, guys. A big gap down on higher volume, a sell-off on volume, not as high, but then bigger volume as a push down as we popped up again on higher volume, or on lower volume. And then look what happens. We go stagnant and then we continue to sell off below the 21-day moving average. I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen. I'm saying this looks very eerily similar to what has happened. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. We also have in this area 450, a psychological level of 450. We could even just mark this to see how well 450 held out. So we mark 450. You can see this, yeah, right here. It's shown as support, a little bit of support right here, and then we broke through it, and then it acted as resistance right here. Now, when I say 450 or 550 or 600, you guys also need to understand that it is the area. It is not, oh, $500 exactly or $450 exactly. We're talking about an area. And we could also draw that area out for you, and we do something like this, okay? Where it's an area, you can see it more of as a box, okay? And same thing with that $500, that psychological area. I even drew that box out right here. I said this area. Well, sure enough, this thing came almost right down on 500 as it held. It wasn't 500 exactly, it was 449.44, but it held that $500 area, okay? And then it continued higher. So that's what we like to see. We like to, of course, we like to see above the 21-day moving average first and foremost, but that's what we got there for you. Let's see, what else we got? Do you guys have any questions or anything?
I had 2 questions, but I'm going
Please.
to wait till you get through your presentation, I think.
I feel like I'm pretty much done. I just want to make sure that I covered everything and everybody understands support and resistance. I feel like I have it down so well, just like my black belt instructor. He'll tell me things or he'll teach things, but forget to tell the smallest details. So if I'm missing any small details and you guys think that I need to add those, please let me know, for not just for everybody in this room, but for any viewers that are going to be watching this afterwards.
I'm curious about all-time highs.
Okay.
So once I reach an all-time high,
Yes.
there is no more resistance or support.
Yeah,
We're kind of on our own then. So is it all just psychological then?
Yeah, so that's beautiful. So all-time highs, there's no resistance above, right? So that gives all the investors opportunities to think in their mind, hey, this thing can completely go higher, can continuously carry on. So there is no resistance at all-time highs, right? If you go through all-time highs. When a lot of times you'll see people get in at all-time highs because they are having fear of missing out, you know? If you guys remember the last time when I was adding into the S&P 500 right here, I actually added in at all-time highs because we were blue skies above us. And a lot of times you'll see continuation, and that's exactly what we got here. Right here was our all-time highs when we pulled and had that, what we keep calling a bloody 6-day sell-off. We got the bloody 6-day sell-off. We found support at the 500 psychological and technical area. We broke above, crossing over the 10, over the 21-day moving average. We were over the 21-day moving average, and then when we were over the 50, we were 100% risk on and fully on board. Well, I kept adding in to the pullback, and then we added in somewhere in over here, and then we added in at the break of this all-time high. And when we did that, you see in the very next day, we were up big, right? And this was on the long-term buy, if you guys remember, okay? And you can see here, we have not closed below the 21-day moving average at all here or at all here. This is the only time we've closed below that 21-day moving average. This is the only time we've closed below that 21-day moving average. And we're literally talking over this amount of time, guys. This is what's crazy. We have only closed below the 21-day moving average for this amount of time since, what is this, October lows of 23. We have not closed below a 21-day moving average other than 2 times. The bloody 6-day sell-off event and 3 days ago. Other than that, we have been risk on, baby, this whole time. That's why I like using that 21-day moving average. All right. So when it comes back to all-time highs, I like buying in at all-time highs only in the S&P 500. When we're talking about something else, like let's talk about the trade that we took today. That's a great question. You got me thinking now. ASTS. Okay. We have support on the 10-day moving average, right? We found support. It's a technical area of support, right? It's following it up. I could even draw, you know, like a line off this, which, man, this is a yucky looking. Let me just do this. Let me clear this drawing set here. There you go. Now it's nice and clean. All right. So we have this beautiful uptrend here, right? Well, what is stopping this thing from going any higher? Well, if we zoom out, we can see that we have this technical area of resistance, which is also, we're just going to call this all-time highs. Obviously, all-time highs are way up here at 25, but we're going to call this all-time highs because we're talking, this is all the way back in 2021 and 2022. So we're going to call these all-time highs, okay, guys, just for the sake of this conversation. So if we mark this all-time high out, right, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's hit multiple times. Well, look what happened today. This is why we took money out of this trade. We have this beautiful trend line, these new higher lows forming. When it broke out on higher volume, I alerted everybody in the Discord. I said, hey, ASTS is looking like my type of trade. Right here on the hourly, you can see it based out. It made new higher lows, and we have this beautiful descending trend line that it broke out on much higher volume. Look at this, much higher volume, right? So I decided to get into this, even though there was a few naysayers out there. I won't call you guys out. There's a few naysayers out there that said that this isn't going to work today. I trusted in the price action in the process. If I don't get in because somebody else said it's not going to work out, then I'm going to feel even worse, right? So I get into this trade here. It heads up higher, and now there is what we will consider the all-time highs, because within the past 2 years, this is the all-time highs right here at $14. So where did I take my trade off? Right when it broke through that $14, even though, guys, I like taking off half around 2R, this was only a little less than 2R. This was like 1.5R. I decided to exit half. 1, the market doesn't look as good, and 2, this is the best area for me to get out because this is where people are going to be taking a lot of their shares out, right? Now, if it breaks out above this and comes back and retests this area, I'm going to expect that all-time high to be as support. But when it comes up to it, I'm going to expect people after a big sell-off and a breakout, I'm going to expect anybody else that got this breakout, the smart money is going to be selling off into here, into dumb money that's going to be buying the all-time high. Okay? So that kind of goes back on what I said here, because if we're looking at all-time high on the ETFs, that's different, right? All-time high on ETFs, you're going to see a lot of euphoria through a lot of different stocks, this being one of them. It did break out a little higher, and then what did it meet? Those all-time highs from 2021 and 2020. And then it sells off. Now, I expected a bigger sell-off. I was telling Jolene and you, Dan Bob, which you guys are a couple of the people that took this with me, that I expect a bigger sell-off. I even expect it to come all the way back down and retested its breakout area down here at $13. Okay, I expected it to come back down that far. But with price action showing that it's being supported right here at $13.75. If it continues to hold here and build, that's going to be very, very bullish for this area. And if it can break out above this 14 and hold above it, I would expect this stock to break out, say to get up to around $15, come back down, retest this area of 14, 14.30, and then continue higher. Okay, but if not, I think this thing will come back down. Maybe it sells off completely. I have no idea what's going to happen. All I know is if we use the support of this uptrend here, right, and then we notice a trend down here, and then we break above the most recent all-time highs, that is a very bullish sign for this stock. If it could not get above all-time highs, then that is a bearish sign for the stock, meaning it just does not have enough stuff. As this used to be the all-time high, breaks it. This used to be the all-time high, it breaks it. This is now the all-time high, and it broke it today. So maybe we continue this ascending trend line and we continue higher on this stock. That would be a beautiful thing because we're in it, right? So we'll see what happens there. So yes.
I have a follow-up question.
Sure, go ahead.
So I don't really know exactly how to ask this.
It's okay.
So let's say I have a breakout area lined up on my chart, and I also identify a next area of resistance.
Yeah.
If they're really close together. Should I take that into consideration, whether I should take that trade or not?
Yeah, I would definitely use volume as your guide. So if you're talking like there's an area just above it, maybe we can find it on this chart. Let's go to the daily. Let's see if we can find something in this chart. So we're gonna say, yeah, so we'll say this is an area of resistance right here, right? Because it's hit it multiple times. Man, I don't know. This is kind of, okay. Yeah, let's talk about this right here. So I already have this marked out. So this looks like a base, right? I think we can all agree that this is kind of a base right here. Yeah, so it's hit 1, 2, 3, 4 times, right? So you wanna play, let's say, this trend right here. So we have this small trend, and now I probably wouldn't play this trend, but I want to use this as, I want to use this as an example. Okay, so we have this trend. It's not really right in the 10-day moving average, so I just want to use this as an example. Let's say we play this trend on a breakout because we have a little bit higher volume here, and we get into this, right? My issue is it has not got above this base breakout, right? So what am I going to try and do here when it gets up to this base? What would you do here, Dan Bob, when it got up to this base?
Sell half of my stocks.
Sure, and maybe not even half. Let's say you got in here, right? And your bottom is 10 and your top here is still under 1R. You don't have to sell half. You could sell a quarter, but what you want to do is at least sell a piece here, right? Because if this is expected to be resistance and you're expecting it to fail, then maybe we sell a piece out here, right? But, and I say this with respect to volume and price, let's say you took this trade on much, much higher volume. Let's say the volume was exuberant. It was very, very, very high here, okay? And, we don't know what the 5-minute looked like, and I don't feel like pulling it up. But let's say the volume on the 5-minute was extremely high on your trend breakout. Well, then there's no reason to get out of this because there's volume that's going to break and push this out through this, right? Now, here's another beautiful thing to show on this. It does break through this and then comes back and retests that same base breakout area. So what was resistance is now acting as support. So I hope that answers your question. Your best bet, Dan, is if you take a good trade and it's on much, much higher volume, play your trade, let it run its course, and give it time to run, right? If it's a winner, let it run. If you see that it's a very good basing area or an area of resistance like this is, I would say take a quarter out because it makes sense to take some of your money off there, So does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It did, thank you.
Good. Anybody else have any questions? I think this is really important to know, guys. I think it's really important to understand support and resistance, understanding that there's VWAP support, there's psychological support and resistance, there's technical trend and base support and resistance. It's all, you need to familiarize yourself with all of this, because if you don't, the smart money is going to be taking advantage of you. And that's right here. This is exactly why when you guys got into this trade with me in the Discord, we all took this trade somewhere around 1327, 1330. I know Dan Bob got just a little, which was a great area to get in. Both you and Jolene bought it on volume, on the trend break, within half of its ADR. I mean, I'm just so happy. I'm so happy. I'm happy that it worked out too. You know what I mean? I hate calling things out and then they don't end up working out. But this one was a beautiful trade. And the thing was, and that goes right back into your example, Dan Bob, I knew that there was resistance here and just above it, right? I even called it out in the chat, that $14 psychological, technical all-time high. And back in 20 and 21, we had an area of sell-off. We might as well take a piece because why? Well, if this stock decides to fail, we at least paid ourselves a little bit. I decided to take out half. Usually I would probably only take out a quarter because this thing can be explosive fireworks to the north side if it wants to continue. But like I said, I can always add into this trade now that I've averaged in all the way down here at 330. Let's say we do break above this. I will expect this to pull back and retest this area and show me and the rest of the community that has watched ASTS that this is an area of support. And then if it gets supported right down here, maybe it forms another trend right here, guys, or a base at 15, and it won't get through there. And then when it gets through, maybe we add into it there. So we'll see what happens. Maybe this thing fails tomorrow, and we have to get out of it. But we do have to keep in mind earnings is on August 12th. So unless we get a huge lead on earnings, I will be out of probably 90% of this trade at least. So, all right. Any other questions, guys? No? Just elevator
I
music?
do hope people soon do the anchored VWAP. I've been playing around with it more.
Yeah.
And what I find is it shows me, like if I put the run up day there, go back about where the first big green candle is. So if you put your anchored VWAP there,
yeah,
it will show you where the average cost was.
Yeah, on this day.
Yeah. And I like that sometimes better than using the candle for resistance, because there may be longer candles, but the majority of that candle is in the middle, let's say.
Sure.
So that shows me that the majority of the resistance or the support is not going to be at the top of the candle where we always think that it is, or at the bottom of the candle.
Sure.
I don't know if I explained that very well.
Yeah, no.
I'll find some examples and send to you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, man. I totally agree with you. This anchor VWAP can be extremely powerful, and we're above all VWAP areas. Like if you're anybody that's in this stock right now, because if we pull an anchored VWAP from ASTS from its very highest point, you can see like, and here's a great example for anchored VWAP. You could see when I pulled the anchored VWAP from its very highest point, you could see anytime it's came into this anchored VWAP, you can see the sell-off. See all that? Every time it's came up to that anchored VWAP, it sold off. Well, now look at this. It's gapped up over that anchored VWAP, and now it's holding, and it's staying above it. So technically, if you have ever bought into the stock, basically what anchored VWAP is telling me, that the average person that has ever bought the stock ever in the time of its inception is in the money. So they're making money. All right. All right. So there's one last thing I want to do. Yeah, what's up?
Em đánh luôn từ đầu đầu là host mèo em bút tay si thì lo sabía bánh yo lo sabía.
Maybe you could try that in English. Red Baron. Oh yeah, okay. So Arriba! Red Baron, you unmuted yourself for a minute and you started talking all kinds of things that I wish I could speak. All right, guys, I got one last question for you. If you look at the Discord, I'm going to ask, I want everybody to vote. I just want to know where everybody stands on this. So all I'm going to do is ask you, today's Discord meeting, should we change to a YouTube live? All right, so before you guys answer this, I just want to explain myself here. My main goal is to actually get my watch time hours in, so that way YouTube will actually start paying me for my ad revenue. Now, right now, we do our Discord meetings on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and then we do our lives on Thursdays and Sundays. What I'm trying to do, and I want to make sure it's okay with everybody else, if you vote yes on a change, it would be changing this Discord that you have today from a Discord to a YouTube Live. So we would have a YouTube Live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays. And then we would do our Discords with Covey every Monday, and then with myself every Wednesday. If you guys are for that, I want you to vote yes on the general chat. If you're not for that and you want to keep the schedule the same, just vote no. And that's totally fine, guys. I just want to know what you guys think. I want to get the majority of you guys to vote. We did this poll earlier, but I only had it set for an hour. So I was really hoping to get everybody to do this. So if everybody will just...
We
What's
start
that?
on that. I can say something real quick.
Yeah.
If we go to live on Tuesday, the questions that you might have, you could always write down, and then on Wednesday, That's really what we want Wednesday night to be. We
Yeah.
really want Wednesday night to be the night for you guys and all your questions.
Yeah, well, you can even do it in the YouTube too. I think it makes for a great live when everybody's in there and you're asking your questions. I want it to be as personalized as we can make it on YouTube. I really think that if you guys really hone in and text and talk to me on the YouTube, just like we do in our Discord during the general meetings, I think that that can be extremely good for not just the YouTube channel and the community to help build this community, but I think it would be great for you guys as well while we do it live, you know. But at the same time, like Dan Bob has brought up, we don't want this, you know, everything that we're doing is to create a community, and we don't want to ruin what we have. So if you guys think that we don't want to do another YouTube day and we want to focus more on the Discords, you can vote no. That's totally fine too. This really is for you guys. And if the majority votes yes, then we can do the extra live, and we can always go back if you guys don't like it. But I love doing the YouTube lives. You know, I really, really do want to eventually have a show. The whole reason why we do all this, and you know, I'm not trying to sell you guys on it or anything, but eventually I want to have a show where every morning I get on, we have a live show, and we bring in a community. You know, eventually we'll have sponsors and everything like that. But what I want is to have our core group in the Discord, obviously, and then do a YouTube live every morning, but we can still have our meetings in the Discord. We still do our Discord meetings where we have these one-on-ones. But eventually I would like to have my own show where it's not just, you know, one day a week. I want it to have 5 days a week every morning, and then we still meet up at night in our Discord. But we have to continue to grow the community for that. So what do you guys think? You can tell me verbally too, or you can vote. I see we got 5 votes in there, and we got like 8 or 10 of you guys in the chat. So vote, and remember, you have to click and then click vote as well. You click on what you want, and then you have to click vote. Predator, no, I know, I know what you mean too. I like what you said earlier too, but yeah, you guys let me know. But I want everybody to know I do appreciate you. I do absolutely love everybody being here. I mean, you guys have made this so special. It's crazy how fast we're growing, and it is all because of you guys. Everybody that's in here tonight has been in here for many meetings before. You know, you guys are absolutely amazing. And I love having somebody to speak to because it sharpens my sword as well. Steel sharpens steel here. You guys want to learn, I want to teach. And while I'm teaching, just like Dan Bob's question about the all-time highs, you know, it made me really think, because I haven't had anybody really ask about all-time highs, be using that as support or resistance. So it really makes me think. It helps me get better. And as long as we're all getting better, then none of us are losers, right? You're not a loser if you're learning. And so I see that we got 8 votes for yes. Perfect. So I think we'll put this into play next week, and we'll have Dan Bob switch up the schedule and everything. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys. We got let's see, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of you in here, including myself, and 8 of you voted. So that's the majority right there. So we'll just go ahead and go with that. Okay. So thank you guys. I appreciate you voting on that and addressing. Now, do we have any other questions before we take off here? I want to make sure, and it doesn't have to be on support or resistance or anything like that. I'm gonna end the video, and then we'll answer any questions if you guys have anything else. So thank you guys so much for being here. Hope you enjoyed that technical analysis video. If you want to join the Discord, hit that link down below, and you can join this amazing Discord where we take polls like this every so often. Take care, guys.